Is it good to have a plan to retire? Yes. Is it necessary? I don't think so. A little bit about my story. I retired 6 months ago. I was burned out, stressed out, and I left my job without much of a plan. I kind of didn't think of it as a full retirement. I thought about it as a mini retirement or semi retirement or just taking some time off. And at the time, I thought, I'm going to take 3 months to a year off and kind of figure things out. After a month, I knew I was going to take a full year off and just enjoy myself. And it's been 6 months and I have been enjoying myself. I left in the beginning of summer and summer was great. I just spent my time hiking, biking, kayaking, exercising, eating good, and just living slow, just really taking my time, not being in a hurry, not being stressed about anything, taking time to spend with my dogs, to go down and see my dad in Pennsylvania. It was really just relaxing and rejuvenating. But I also felt kind of lost during that time. I felt like I wasn't doing enough. I should have been doing more. I should have been, I don't know. Like I said, I was just kind of feeling lost. I was feeling confused. I was having a great time. I was having a great summer. It was wonderful, but it felt like there was something missing. So summer ended, kind of things winded down in September, and I started feeling a little bit more motivated, a little bit more energized, a little bit more ambitious to get things done. So, I started working around my house a little bit more, doing some landscaping, doing some other things. I got back into woodworking a little bit. I got back into metalworking a little bit. And again, nothing, it wasn't like I was setting up a production shop or anything like that. Just kind of getting back into things, messing around. And I think I just needed to take that time to decompress from 30 years of work. I'm going to say the last 10 years of my working career, I just didn't have the energy to do the things that I always had enjoyed previously. Work had just become very draining. It just took a lot of my energy and it didn't leave me with much on the weekends. The little time that I had, I just didn't have a lot of drive during that time. The advice of retire to something is great advice, unless you don't have something to retire to. Then it just keeps you from retiring. I don't think it's necessary that you have to retire to something. If you're retirement age, if you think you can afford to retire and you don't have something to retire to, you'll just have to figure it out. That's what I did. The first few months of retirement, I was literally lost. I felt all kinds of feelings of, should I have done this? Was this the right thing to do? Should I go back to work? Even though I was enjoying myself so much, it was so much to have that freedom and that time, I still questioned it because I was institutionalized. I've been working my whole life. Since I was a kid, I was working paper routes, working on a farm, working in the local grocery store when I was growing up. To have the time and the freedom to do what you want to do and to just live a slow life and to not be stressed, it will definitely change you. And it will let you figure things out that you can't figure out when you're constantly stressed and always feel like you're behind and always feel like you're rushing. Just know that when you retire, it's not going to fix your life. If you are just burnt out at your job, if you've been working for 30, 40, 50 years, if you just want to get away from that job and retire, which I think a lot of people do, a lot of people working for that long just get tired of doing that. Just simply retiring is not going to fix your life. A good retirement doesn't just happen. A good retirement is something that you have to work on to make happen. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with retiring and not knowing what you're going to do. There's nothing wrong with retiring and taking some time to figure things out. If you have to take a few months, 6 months, a year before you kind of get back into the groove of it, that's absolutely fine. In fact, a lot of retirement advice will say that very same thing, that you need to take time to decompress before you start living your life again. And it's always good to be able to figure things out, because you could be one of those people that has planned your retirement. You know exactly what you're going to do. You're retiring to something. You're going to go do your volunteering or your hobbies or traveling or whatever you're going to do. And you retire and you start doing that, and 6 months, a year, 2 years later, you're like, what am I doing? This isn't what I want to do. I'm lost. I don't know what I'm going to do. I had it all planned out, but my plan doesn't really seem to be working. And that can and does absolutely happen. So the best thing that you can do is be flexible and know that just because you want something today doesn't mean that you're going to want it a year from now. Life is always changing, and we always have to figure things out, no matter how well we plan. But you cannot plan for everything that could happen. So there's always going to be times when you just have to figure it out on the go. So financially, I got very lucky this year. I retired in a year where the stock market had a really good year. I'm invested mostly, almost 90%, in Vanguard Total Stock Market, and their return this year was 28%. Now, that could change next year. As a matter of fact, I expect that to change next year. Next year, it could be a more normal 10%. It could be a negative 3%. The stock market is going to increase over a longer period of time. Short time, it's still volatile. You never really know what's going to happen 6 months and a year out. At this point, money is not my biggest concern. It's still something that I have to deal with. I mean, I handle my own finances, so I have to be aware of what I'm spending money on and where it's going and how much I have. So I still have to take care of it. But it's not a worry. It's not a big concern for me. And the reason it's not is because of how I live. I live a simple life, and a simple life is inexpensive. I'm not spending a lot of money on the things that trip up a lot of people in their finances, which is spending a lot of money on cars, spending a lot of money on entertainment, spending a lot of money on food, spending a lot of money on clothes, spending money on hobbies and buying toys and upgrading their electronics and getting new phones all the time. Money is a tool that you need to use to live your life. But if you live simply, it makes living so much easier. I'm glad I left work at 56. It is one of the best decisions I've made. Although it was very tough to make that decision, it was very tough to decide to leave work at 56. Once I made that decision, I felt good about it. Yeah, I've had times when I've wondered, did I do the right thing? Oh my God, am I going to have enough money? But generally, I'm just happy that I made that decision and that I have the time to live my life the way I want to live it now. Leaving the workforce into retirement gives you the time to work on yourself, gives you the time to work on your diet, your exercise, your own mental health and well-being. When you have time, life is easier. It's so much better when you have time to live your life and you're not stressed trying to cram 25 hours of life into a 24-hour day. I'm definitely happier now that I'm retired. And like I said, retirement doesn't fix everything. It's not like I retired and I'm totally happy. I have definitely become healthier and happier since I retired. And I am never going back to a full-time job. Unless something crazy happens and I have to, I am never going to work a full-time job again. Part-time? Yeah, I kind of see that in my future. Retirement has been great so far, and I have every reason to believe that it's going to continue to be great. So that's all I have for today. I will see you next week.